Welcome back to our YouTube channel. In our previous videos, we were looking at vectors and we managed to look at two topics. That is the dot product of vectors, and again we looked at cross product of vectors. So in this video, we want to look at another subtopic in vectors, that is how to find an angle between two vectors. So in this case, you want to see if you are given two vectors, say vector A and vector B, then how can we find an angle that is going to be made by these two vectors, that is vector A and vector B? How do we find the angle between these two vectors? And we can see that for us to find the angle between these two vectors, we can use two methods. We can use what we call the dot product method. And number two, we can use the cross product method. So those two methods can be used in finding the angle between these two vectors A and B. The angle in between them can be found using either the dot product method and the cross product method. So in this video, we are going to look at how to find the angle between the two vectors using the dot product method. The dot product method. So when you are given two vectors, say vector A, which is given by A1i plus A2j plus A3k, and another vector B, which is B1i plus B2j plus B3k, then we can find the angle. We can find the angle between vector A and vector B using the dot product method. So for us to find that angle, then we use the formula given by vector A dot B must always be equals to A magnitude multiplied by B magnitude, then we multiply by cos of theta, where theta is the required angle, between the two vectors, where that theta is the required angle between the two vectors. So far, if you want to get the magnitude of vector A is given by the square root of, you take the component along I, that is A1, you square, then you add to the component along J, that is A2, then you square, then you add to the component along K, that is A3, you square, then you get the square root. That's how we get the magnitude of a vector. Similarly, we can get the magnitude of vector B, which is given by the square root again of the component along I, which is B1, you square, then you add to the component along J, which is B2 square, then you add to the component along K, which is B3 square, then you get the square root. That is going to give you the magnitude of a vector. In our previous video, we also said that the dot product between two vectors, that A dot B, can be represented by this. So A dot B, that is the dot product between two vectors A and B. And we say that the dot product is given by, you take the component along i's, you multiply the component along I for both A and B. You multiply, then you add to the component along J, then you multiply also component along K. Then you add all of them. That is A1 multiplied by B1, then you add to A2 multiplied by B2, then you add it to A3 multiplied by B3 multiplied B3. So this is now how we find the dot product between those two vectors. So I want us to look at an example and see how can we find the angle between two vectors for a real example. So let's look at a case where we are given two vectors. So in this case, we are given two vectors, and we are told that vector A is given by I plus 4j minus 2k. And vector B, we are told that vector B is 2i minus j plus 3k. Then we are told to find the angle between the two vectors, So as I said earlier that we can get the angle using two methods, that is the dot product and the cross product. But as we said, we are going to start with finding the angle using the dot product. And we said that by dot product method, that is A dot B is always the same as A magnitude, B magnitude, then we multiply cos of theta, where that theta is the angle that we want. The first thing we need to find is to solve anything in this formula that can be found. You must find it first. So like A dot B can be obtained, and A dot B, as we said that for us to get A dot B, we take the components along I, we multiply together, then we multiply by the component along J, we multiply together again, component along K, we multiply together, then we add all of them. So A dot B in short will be 1 multiplied by 2, then you add to 4 multiplied by negative 1, then negative 2 multiplied by positive 3. So you have to consider the sign. This is positive j, this is negative 1. So the component along j is negative 1. This is negative 2k, so the component along k is negative 2. So this will give us 2, you add to negative 4, you add to negative 6. This is going to give us 2 minus 4 minus 6, and this will give you negative 8. So this is going to be our A dot B. So A dot B, in the formula for finding the angle between two vectors, we have already found that it is going to be negative 8. Then the next thing that we need to find for us to get that angle is the A magnitude and B magnitude. And as we said that A magnitude, for us to get A magnitude, that is the magnitude of a vector, is given by the square root of the component of A along I, which is 1, you square. Then you add to the component of A along J, which is 4, again you square. Then finally, the component of A along K, that is negative 2. Then you square. This will give you square root of 1 plus 16 plus 4, which will give you square root of 21, which you can put to 4 decimal places. 4 decimal places as, this can be placed to 4 decimal places as 4.5826, like that. So that is going to give us A magnitude. Similarly, we can also get B magnitude, vector B magnitude, which we say that for us to get B magnitude, we take the component of B in the I direction, which is 2, we square. Then we add the component of B in the J direction, which is negative 1 squared, then plus component of B in the K direction, which is 3, again squared. So this will give you 4 plus 1 plus 9, which will give us root of 14, which to 4 decimal places will give us 3.7417. So we already found in the formula, we have all the three things except one, cos theta. So we have gotten A dot B, we have A magnitude, and then B magnitude. All those things can be substituted in this formula such that now using this formula, we have A dot B. But what is A dot B? A dot B is negative 8. Should be equal to A magnitude. But A magnitude we have found as 4.58 26, we multiply by B magnitude. But what is B magnitude? We have found that B magnitude is 3.7417. Then finally cos theta, which we can now solve and find that this will give us -8 will be, when we multiply these two, we are going to get 17.14671,442 cos theta. Then because we want the angle, we can divide both sides by 17.14671442, both sides. 17.14671442. This one will cancel each other, and we are going to remain with cos theta is equal to, when you divide -8, if you divide -8 by this one, we are going to get this will give us, when you divide -8 by this, we are going to get -0.466562. And then for us to find the angle that we require, which is theta, for us to find theta, theta can be obtained by, this theta can be obtained by, so this theta which we require, this theta can be obtained by finding the cos inverse of what is on the left hand side of the equation. So theta is going to be cos inverse of what we have on the left hand side of the equation, that is -0.4666562, and this will give you an angle of 117. When you press this on the cal, you get an angle of 117.811 degrees, and this will be the angle between the two vectors, that is 117.811 degrees. So that one tells us, that will give the entire process of finding the angle between the two vectors given